Hey guys, Level Alone here. Welcome to part 4 of my Ran Raid Guide series of videos. This time we tackle the final boss of Abyss Raid, in Birth of Origin. This is the only part of the raid that has 3 parts to it. There are a lot of mechanics for it, so I'll try to keep each section brief. Part 1 opens up with Ran in the middle of the stage. The best position for most parties is to be in the left corner to start. Ran will attack with a combo attack that will knock players around or upwards into the air. Keep super armor at all times if possible. Ran has a flame dash attack where he will dash forward with his sword and leave flames on the ground. These flames deal significant damage if they're stacked up in a corner, and give debuffs that heal him when you attack him while affected. One of these is a cleansable debuff that your healer can remove for you. Ran will spawn crystals around the map occasionally that will suck in surrounding players and do damage. This can make it hard to run around the map to dodge mechanics. The boss may tether to 2 players with a red line, or tether a player to himself with a red line. Players who are not targeted by the line and stand in it will have their potions put on cooldown for 1 second. These tether lines can be used to clear crystals by running the line through the crystal until it breaks. The boss will occasionally select 1 player to receive a black hole debuff. This will explode after a certain amount of time, and it will leave a lingering black hole effect that does damage and silences. If this black hole is spawned on a crystal, the crystal will permanently obtain a black hole effect around itself until it's cleared by tethered players. The ultimate for this section of the raid is called Space Finder. Players must enter spaces on the field and find a safe space indicated by an area turning white or pale pink. If multiple players enter the same space at the same time, the space will turn dark purple for a few seconds, and any player who stays in this circle will be teleported to a random other space. When the boss is low HP, the Space Finder mechanic will show you the safe spacers randomly instead of you running around to find them. A small tip for this section is to have each of the 4 party members select a quadrant, top left, top right, bottom left, or bottom right, and take over that quadrant when this mechanic happens, so they can find a safe spot without triggering the teleport mechanic. Now we can move on to part 2. You can fall off the edges of the stage in this section, so be careful. Super armor effects like giant stone apples or support buffs are extremely important here. The boss will mark players with teleporters. After a delay, the teleporters will be placed and will last for a little while, teleporting anyone that steps into the magic circle. The boss will occasionally stab the ground with his flaming sword and spread flames across the map, covering an entire level. If you take any damage from these flames, you will receive the same flame debuff as part 1. The boss will occasionally create a giant suppression box. Being inside this box stacks a powerful slow debuff that will cripple your speeds, up to 4 stacks. Receiving a 5th stack will flatten you for 1 second and remove all suppression debuffs. The boss will summon a magic mark occasionally. When this happens, 1 mobile player must pick up the mark and move to the sides of the map quickly, usually a support. When the timer for the sigil reaches 2 seconds, it will explode, launching allies nearby far away, dealing damage, and also heals the boss by a significant amount of HP if the boss happens to be in the explosion range. So make sure you're very far away from the boss. The piercing mechanic begins with Ran teleporting off stage to one of the sides and preparing a dash attack. During this time, crystals will spawn in relation to how many players are alive during this mechanic. Players must find the crystal that is linked to them and create a vertical line for Ran to dash through. The Phase 2 ultimate ability is a massive explosion. This will always happen for the first time after the crystal mechanic, 1 or 2 teleports after. The players that have the teleporters after the crystals need to separate and place the teleporters on the far left and right sides of the map in order to clear this mechanic more easily. The camera will zoom out, and Ran will teleport to a random player, and a massive portion of the map will be highlighted in red. As soon as you see him teleport, head into the teleporter and get to the other side of the map quickly. The top left and right corners of the map are the safest places for this mechanic. If your teleporters aren't placed properly, you may have to run across the map, but be careful. If he teleports to the middle, it will almost always result in a wipe. And finally, you are ready to head into Phase 3. This section is by far the most challenging. To start off, you will notice at the top of your screen, your F1 button will be tethered to a colored orb. This represents the color you currently are. You must be the opposite color of the boss and the meteors to deal damage or interact with the boss, its attacks, or the meteors. The boss's first dangerous ability is Tohou, or Bullet Hell. The boss will point a finger ahead of him and start releasing massive number of orbs from his fingertips. In order to be safe from the damage from this mechanic, you must change your color to red and sit between the closest bottom two platforms near the boss. You can also tank this mechanic if your party has enough defenses. If you're the same color as the orbs, you will not take damage. Blue does not have safe spots, red does have multiple safe spots. The boss will spawn a meteor occasionally by slamming the ground with its fist, and cause a massive meteorite to drop from above. If this meteorite hits the ground, the party will take massive damage. Potions will not work, and the boss will heal a tremendous amount of HP. Meteors can be held by freezing it with water orbs, support freeze skills, or they can even be destroyed. If a meteor is destroyed, the boss will send the party to the Backrooms, which will spawn a random boss from any of the previous dungeons to perform one of their ultimate abilities. The ideal way to run with meteors is to have the support or healer run between freezing the meteor and buffing the party back and forth. The meteor's descent will slow down tremendously after being frozen every time. There is no cooldown for freezing the meteor, it can be frozen in perpetuity. Occasionally, the boss will mark players with sigils, and you must match your sigil to the correct magic circle. Mismatching types will explode map-wide and will likely wipe someone out unexpectedly. The sigils have two types and two colors: a spiky sigil and a circle sigil, red or blue each. Make matching a priority as soon as you get it. The absorb mechanic begins with the boss's arms stretched out, and he will be preparing to absorb a magic circle that spawns on the far end of the map. To collect these orbs, you must be the same color as them. The orbs will also deal a small amount of damage to whoever picks it up, so make sure you're healed up before you collect the orbs. These orbs will always go in the order of red, blue, for the absorb pattern. When all 4 orbs are collected, a light orb will spawn and cause the boss to flinch and swap sides, becoming more vulnerable in the process. The more light orbs he absorbs, the weaker his defenses become. If the absorb mechanic is failed and the boss receives a regular red or blue orb, he will recover a large amount of HP and become more resistant to attacks, and also become harder to kill. When you take the boss's HP down to 5 bars, he will go Berserk and heal to 120 bars of HP. Ran will rapidly launch hundreds of red and blue orbs in an alternating pattern, spawn a brand new meteor, and spawn several black holes in random places. These black holes are identical to part 1 and will suck you in and silence you. Be sure to watch for them as they spawn. During this Berserk phase, your goal is to survive. Keep your resurrection title on and stay close to your healer. Prepare to collect the orbs for the absorb mechanic when the black holes go away. The bullet hell mechanic will continuously be active until absorb is passed or failed. For all players who are alive when the Berserk phase is triggered, they will receive the Last Hope buff, making them completely resistant to the Demon Realm debuff, the same one that you need adaptation to resist, increasing their damage by a significant amount. Note that players that are dead at the time of triggering Berserk and players that die after Berserk is triggered will not receive the Last Hope buff. And with that, we are wrapped up on the Ran Raid Guide series. This series took a lot of time to make, but I'm hoping everyone is able to make use of it and give Ran Raid a try with their friends. The raid is mechanically complex, but that's what makes it fun. I hope this guide series was useful to you all, and don't hesitate to reach out to me in-game if you need any help or tips. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, I'll see you all in-game.